Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. We kind of know what countries are involved in a war, in a proxy war against Russia in Ukraine. But it's always good to hear what the Russians have to say and how they assess each country's involvement. I have here an article from Sputnik, and it reveals to us how and who they can blame as being involved in a proxy war against their country. So this article is from 2 days ago, but doesn't really matter. Their assessment and their classification is still valid. So Sputnik, which Western countries are mired in Ukraine proxy conflict? Question mark. This is from the 4th of April 2024. And it says here that French President Emmanuel Macron riled up his NATO allies, especially Germany, when he said in February that Western leaders had discussed sending troops to Ukraine. While no consensus had been reached, nothing could be ruled out. He added, Moscow warned that any threat from NATO would meet a response. So, some NATO countries are openly discussing the possibility of sending their troops to fight in Ukraine. We have here the 75th anniversary of the alliance, NATO. U.S. Department consultant Edward Luttwak weighed in on the debate. The bloc member states will soon have to send soldiers to Ukraine or else accept catastrophic defeat. And quote, he wrote for a current affairs site Unheard. And I'm quoting, the British and French, along with the Nordic countries, are already quietly preparing to send troops. Both small elite units and logistics and support personnel who can remain far from the front. End quote. He wrote on April 4th. He added that NATO units could also relieve Ukrainians currently tied up in the recovery and repair of the damaged equipment and could take over the technical parts of existing training programs for new recruits. And we have here United States. The Biden administration provided approximately $44.2 billion in military aid to Ukraine since early 2022, along with intelligence support. In November 2022, Washington said it would send military, and I'm quoting, weapons experts to Ukraine. U.S. media revealed in February 2023 that the Pentagon planned to insert U.S. commandos in the form of control teams, end quote, in Ukraine. Last April, an apparent Pentagon leak revealed that at least 97 Special Forces soldiers from 5 NATO countries, including 14 U.S. military personnel, have been operating in Ukraine. Furthermore, a New York Times report revealed that a network of 12 CIA secret bases have been operating in Ukraine since 2014. NATO Special Operations Team have been seen in Ukraine on multiple occasions. Sputnik quoted sources as saying this February. Foreign military specialists are believed to be operating NATO-supplied weapons, as well as in the ranks of signalmen, pilots, and military consultants. I think they are operating Patriot systems and HIMARS, to say the least. Maybe some tanks as well. Furthermore, around 1,113 mercenaries have flocked from the U.S. to Ukraine since the start of the conflict. The press service of the Russian Ministry of Defense stated on March 14, 2024. By the end of the report, 491 of them had been killed. Next, United Kingdom. The British government has similarly provided billions worth of military aid to Ukraine. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak Maharishi pledged Kiev £2.5 billion, which is $3.2 billion in military funding this year. This will take London's arms spending on Ukraine to over £7 billion since February 2024. Sunak has also confirmed that there are a small number, relative to what, of British Army personnel, and I'm quoting, supporting the armed forces of Ukraine. Very vague. Ukrainian soldiers are also being trained at a specially constructed camp in a secret location in the east of England. Over 60,000 Ukrainian servicemen have received training in the UK since 2014. UK Defence Secretary Grant Shapps He's very, very English. He's very, very Welsh, Irish, and Scot as well. Grant Shapps. He's the Zelensky Stein, in charge of the UK defense. Okay, good job. And Zelensky is the president of Ukraine. And the foreign minister of the United States of America is Blinken. And the prime minister of France is another Zelensky Stein. Yeah, nothing to see. Don't connect any dots here, okay? Just a coincidence. An estimated 822 British mercenaries have arrived in Ukraine since the conflict escalated in early 2022, with 360 killed as of mid-March, according to Russian Ministry of Defense. Now, these guys, I don't think they're Ukrainians. I think some of them were active British troops. Gut feeling, I have no evidence. Gut feeling, experience, and history teaches us. Next one, Canada, very much involved. Canada claims to have kept a small military presence in Ukraine. Small, relative to what? To protect its diplomatic personnel. It has also contributed to the training of Ukrainian soldiers through various initiatives, such as Operation Papapap since 2014. This mission was relocated from Ukraine to other countries after February 2022. All right. It says here that as for Canadian mercenaries, they have numbered around 1,005, with 422 killed by mid-March 2024. Next, France. France is preparing to deploy a contingent of troops in Ukraine, with the first echelon to include about 2,000 soldiers, according to information received by the Russian Foreign Intelligence Services. Plus, I just covered that last night, the Foreign Legion is ready to send about 1,500, if I remember correctly, mercenaries, legionnaires, to Ukraine. So, yeah, okay. Next. As for those French nationals already in Ukraine fighting as mercenaries, they have suffered huge losses. The Russian Ministry of Defense reports that out of around 356 French soldiers of fortune, listen to Deep Purple's song, Soldier of Fortune, beautiful. 147 have been wiped out. On January 17, the Russian armed forces destroyed a temporary deployment point for foreign fighters in Kharkov. Most of them were French mercenaries with about 60 soldiers killed. All right, next, Poland, Uber, with Germany, the friends. Warsaw has been an avid supporter of Ukraine, providing military aid and hosting international efforts to train the Kiev regime's forces. On March 10, Polish Foreign Minister Radoslaw Sikorski revealed that NATO troops were already present in Ukraine, right there, but stopped short of clarifying their numbers or countries or origin. Poland has been at the forefront of the soldiers for hire trend in the conflict, with around 2,960 of its citizens reportedly fighting for Ukraine. The Russian Ministry of Defense says 1,497 of them have been boom. Next, Haydn's Deutschland, ding dong dong dong, ding dong bom bam bom bam Welt. Now, Germany, along with Poland, has taken on the bulk of responsibility for training Kiev's troops. It was announced last year that over 10,000 Ukrainian soldiers have been trained in over 260 training modules on weapon systems such as Leopard A1 tank. That's a crime. It's an old fucking tank. It's garbage. The Marder infantry fighting vehicle, the same. Patriot air defense systems, operated I think by the Germans or Americans, or the Panzerhaubitze. 2,000 self-propelled howitzer were provided by the Bundeswehr. From the 235 mercenaries that left Germany for Ukraine, 88 have since been elimination. We're not gonna cover those guys, are we? Romania. Mercenaries from Romanian battle group Jetica, that I think they fight the wrong war, claimed they participated in the recent spat of attacks on Russian border regions together with the Russian volunteer corps. They became corpses. Of around 784 Romanian mercenaries, 349 have been killed, the Russian Ministry of Defense said in March. Well, as I said, they fight for the Ukrainians who have Romanian territory. Good job, very smart. The Russians have no Romanian territories. the Ukrainians have. So, but Jetica fights for the Ukrainians who have Romanian territory. Jesus Christ. I covered that in a video a few days ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. Spain. Spain has been one of the EU's key providers of training of Ukrainian servicemen at its Toledo, the Swords of Toledo, Steel of Toledo Training Command Center. The instruction is part of EU military assistance mission in support of Ukraine, set up in October 2022. As for mercenaries, out of 149 that traveled to Ukraine, 56 were killed by mid-March. Lithuania, we got the Baltic states. The Baltic states with a total population of 6.2 or 6.1 million people. All three of them, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. And Estonia has, I think, 20%, 25 or 26% of its population is Russian-speaking. So yeah, you're going to have the Russians coming and helping their brothers. So keep your mouth shut. Instead, Al Capone activates them. Lithuania, 1,600 Ukrainians were trained this year in 88 programs. What training could Lithuania provide? What wars did they fight? I'm listening. When I hear these guys, oh, Canada provided training to the Ukrainians. Ukrainians, as of now, I think they have more training than all these guys together, put together, because of the war. But Lithuania trains Ukrainians, or Canada trains Ukrainians. Maybe that's why they're winning. All right, Lithuania's officials are also considering the possibility of sending Lithuanian troops. How many? 3, a dog and a bow and arrow, to Ukraine to train the country's troops. This guy, presidential advisor, has said, of the 147 guns for hire that went to Ukraine, 81 have been killed. Latvia plans to train, again, 2,000 soldiers, like they... Anyway, and it says is that 109 mercenaries in Ukraine, 95 have been killed. Estonia, be careful. Be careful. Join the UK-led Operation Interflex to provide combat training to Ukrainian soldiers. Again, these guys are good. Finland is just... Anyway, Finland has also been sending its service personnel to the UK to take part in a training program for the Ukrainian armed forces. As for mercenaries, out of 135 sent, 44 killed. Denmark. Danish military experts have been training Ukraine, again, because Denmark has such an experience. In what? Jerking off? What the... Jesus Christ. And pilots to operate F-16 fighter jets. The Kiev regime expects to receive later this year. Those guys who want supposedly to send them the F-16s are hoping for an end of the war so they don't have to operate their F-16s to fight the Russians. I think that's what it is. They're not going to be Ukrainians operating, Ukrainian pilots. Are you crazy? And a Ukrainian pilot wants some money and diverts its F-16 into, I don't know, let's say, goes to Belgorod or, I don't know. No, it's not going to happen. Sweden. Moscow is aware of the participation of Swedish military in hostilities on the side of Kiev regime. Did you hear? Did you know that? So Sweden has Swedish military participates. Stated on April 3rd. The ministry noted that according to the Russian Ministry of Defense, up to 90 Swedish mercenaries served in Ukraine, 25 of whom were killed. So about this one, this is it. These are the guys right there. Gonna use you, man. They're gonna use you. They're gonna use you. So these are the countries directly, I would say, involved. Even though by my definition, you send one bullet to my enemy, you are involved. And I will shoot at you, basically. So, but hey, that's me. The Russians are nicer, it seems like. All right, my friends, here is, according to Sputnik, the countries who are really, really at the forefront of their involvement in Ukraine. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.